Lotta gets a visitor. Lotta played happily with Viola Low, Bamsy, and the doll's dishes for a long time. Then she dusted her furniture 5 more times, and then she sat down on a chair and began to think. "What on earth do you do in a household all day long?" she asked Bamsy. But just then footsteps came pounding up the stairs. It was Jonas and Maria. "I have moved," Lotta announced. "Yes, we know," said Jonas. "Mrs. Berg told us." "I'm going to live here all my life," said Lotta. "That's what you think," said Jonas. Maria had gone straight to the doll dishes. "Oh," was all she could say as she tenderly picked up the cups, the serving dishes, and the coffee pot. Then she saw Viola Low and all her pretty clothes. "Oh," she said again, and she began going through all the dresses to see how many there were. "Don't touch them," warned Lotta. "This is my house now, and these are my things. Won't you let me play with them for just a little while?" said Maria pleadingly. "All right," Lotta consented, "but only for a little while." After a moment, Lotta asked, "Is Mother crying?" "Of course not," said Jonas. "Of course I'm crying," said a voice from the stairs, and suddenly there stood Mother. "Of course I'm crying for my little Lotta." Lotta looked very pleased. "I'm sorry, Mother," she said, "but I've moved now and have my own household to keep up. It keeps me very busy." "So I see," said Mother. "You have a very nice place here." "Much better than at home," said Lotta, fluffing out the curtains. "I brought you a plant. That's the custom when someone moves," said Mother, and she gave Lotta a potted begonia. "How nice," said Lotta. "I'll put it on my windowsill. Thank you very much." Lotta dusted all her furniture again so that Mother Maria and Jonas could watch her. They agreed that she was very good at keeping house. When Lotta was through with her dusting, Mother asked, "Are you coming home for dinner with Jonas and Maria?" "No, Mrs. Berg's giving me my food," said Lotta, and she showed them how cleverly the basket system worked. "You're not so dumb after all," said Jonas, and he sat down on the floor and trumpeted through some old magazines that he had found in a corner. "Well, goodbye, Lotta," said Mother. "If you should decide that you want to move back home around Christmas time, you know we'll be happy to have you." "How much longer before Christmas?" Lotta wanted to know. 7 months, said Mother. "Oh, I'll probably be living here longer than 7 months, said Lotta. "That's what you think," said Jonas, and he laughed. Mother laughed, and Lotta and Maria played with Viola Low. Jonas sat on the floor reading his magazines. Isn't my place fun, Maria?" said Lotta. "It's the best playhouse I've ever seen." "It isn't a playhouse," said Lotta. "It's my real home." Suddenly, heavy footsteps came up the stairway. It was Daddy. "I've heard some bad news," he said. "People around town are saying that you've moved away from home, Lotta. Is it true?" Lotta nodded. "Yes, I have." "This is going to be a very sad night for me, Lotta. Just think how bad I'll feel when I come into the children's room to say good night. There will be your empty bed. My Lotta will be gone." "It can't be helped," said Lotta firmly. "Poor Daddy," Lotta sighed to herself. She really felt sorry for him. "No, I guess it can't be helped," said Daddy. "Jonas and Maria, you'd better come home now. We're having hamburgers and stewed apricots for supper." "Goodbye, Lotta dear," said Daddy as he went downstairs. "Goodbye," said Lotta. "So long," said Jonas and Maria. "So long," said Lotta, and she went to the window to wave goodbye. It's night and I'm alone. Lotta was alone. Mrs. Berg brought her some dinner and Lotta hauled it up in the basket. There was another orangeade, 2 straws, and a cold pork chop. "Just as good as at the Newmans," said Lotta, and she offered a bite to Bamsy. After she had eaten, she dusted her furniture again. Then she went to the window and watched the Newmans in their backyard. Jonas and Maria were playing croquet with Daddy. The apple trees were in bloom and they looked like big bunches of flowers. It was a very pretty sight. "Croquet is fun," said Lotta to Bamsy, "but not as much fun as keeping your own house." It began to get dark, and Daddy, Jonas, and Maria went inside their warm yellow house. Lotta sighed. Now she didn't have anything more to look at. While she had been looking out the window, something had happened in Mrs. Berg's attic. Something Lotta hadn't planned on. It had gotten dark. The darkness has settled in the nooks and in the corners, and it looked very black. It crept closer and closer to Lotta and filled the room until there was only one small spot of light over where the window was. "We'd better go to bed, Bamsy. Soon we won't be able to see a thing," said Lotta. She quickly tucked Viola into the doll's bed and bedded Bamsy down in her own. Then she crawled in beside him and pulled the covers up over her head. "It's not that I'm afraid of the dark," Lotta said. "It's just very sad. Besides, I'm sleepy." She sighed deeply. A couple of times she sat up and looked out into the dark. Then she shivered and crawled down under her blanket again, hugging Bamsy closer than ever. "By this time Jonas and Maria are probably in bed too," she said. "And Mother and Daddy will be coming in to say good night to them. But not to me." She sighed again and she noticed that her sigh was the only sound in the attic. Otherwise, all was still. It shouldn't be so very, very quiet, thought Lotta. So she started to sing her song again. "I come into my little house, it's night, and dark, and I'm alone." Then Lotta stopped. Her voice was quavering. She tried again. "I come into my little house. It's night and dark, and I'm alone." But Lotta couldn't sing anymore. She broke into sobs. Then she heard Daddy's heavy footsteps on the stairs, and he was singing, "I click on my yellow light, my cat purrs, welcome home." Lotta sat up in bed. "Daddy, if I only had a cat," she sobbed. Daddy picked Lotta up and held her in his arms. "You know, Lotta, Mother is so sad. Don't you think you'll be able to come home before Christmas?" "I want to move back right now," said Lotta. So Daddy took Lotta and Bamsy up in his arms and carried them back to the yellow house and to Mother. "Lotta has moved back home," Daddy called out as they came into the front hallway. Mother was sitting in front of the fire in the living room. She stretched out her arms to Lotta and smiled. "Is it true? Have you really moved back home, Lotta?" Lotta threw herself into her mother's arms and cried so hard that the tears streamed down her face. "I'm going to live with you all my life, Mother," she sobbed. "That's wonderful," said Mother. Lotta curled up in Mother's lap and didn't say a word for a long time. Finally, through her sniffles, she said, "Mother, I have another striped sweater. Mrs. Bird gave it to me. Is that all right?" Mother didn't answer. She just sat there quietly looking at Lotta. Then Lotta lowered her eyes and mumbled, "I cut the other one to pieces, and I want to say that I'm sorry, but it's very hard." "What if I say I'm sorry too?" said Mother. "Then we can say I'm sorry together," said Lotta. She threw her arms around her mother's neck and squeezed her as hard as she could. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry," she said. So Mother carried Lotta and Bamsy up to the children's room and tucked them into their own comfortable bed with clean sheets and a pink blanket that Lotta used to pick fluffy bits out of when she was falling asleep. Daddy came upstairs too, and both Mother and Daddy kissed Lotta good night and said, "Good night, dear little Lotta." Then they went back downstairs. "They are so nice," said Lotta to Bamsy. Jonas and Maria were almost asleep, but Jonas woke up enough to say, "I knew you'd be too scared to stay over there all night. I've decided to stay there in the daytime instead and play and keep my household there, said Lotta. "And if you and Maria hit Bamsy again, I'm going to have to give you both a licking." "Hit Bamsy? We never touched your old piggy bear." Jonas laughed and fell asleep. But Lotta lay awake for a little while, singing her song to herself. "I come into my little house. It's night and dark, and I'm alone. I click on my yellow light. My cat purrs, welcome home." But that song isn't about me anymore. That's about another Lotta. said Lotta to Bamsy. Then she hugged him tight and fell fast asleep. The end.